All right, we start this half hour with a monumental move from one of the United States' top credit rating agencies. That agency is called Fitch, and it has officially downgraded the U.S. from a AAA to a AA+ credit rating.
Now, this is only the second time in history that the rating has been cut. It comes nearly 2 months after the debt ceiling crisis was narrowly averted. NBC News business and data reporter Brain Cheung is here to break it down for us. Brian, I have to say, I don't think a lot of people sort of wake up thinking about the grade the country has. So what does this actually mean?
Yeah, well, let's take a step back here and just talk about what is a credit rating agency and what do they do, right? I mean, basically the point is for an entity to say, what is the reliability of someone, a company or a government in this case, to pay its bills on time and in full? And Fitch is one of 3 major agencies that does that rating. AAA is the best possible rating that you could have. AA+ is 1 notch below that. Still pretty good, but not the best rating. And the reason for why Fitch said they had to make that small downgrade was because of, quote, erosion of governance. They said that the way the United States has been running lately shows that they could get themselves into a situation down the line where brinkmanship in Congress might not allow them to actually pay their bills and keep the lights on in this country. They said there are a few examples of that. One was the January 6th insurrection, but then another one was the debt ceiling debacle that we had 2 months ago, where you'll recall there was that debate over whether or not they could actually issue more Treasury bills to pay the bills. That was ultimately something we averted. But again, that was a very messy issue about 2 months ago.
So that was 2 months ago. You mentioned January 6th. That was 2021. We're just seeing this downgrading happen now. Practically speaking, what does it mean for the American consumer?
Yeah, well, there is that concern. Okay, well, first of all, the stock market could see a bit of a spill. And indeed, we are this afternoon seeing stock markets in the red. I would say the NASDAQ is a little bit more of a pronounced sell-off than, say, the others. But this is not necessarily a doomsday on Wall Street by any means today. The bigger question is going to be, might that impact things like interest rates? Could that make borrowing costs more expensive? But really, the larger story on that front is the Federal Reserve raising interest rates, which is a completely separate issue. They've been doing that to tackle inflation. They just raised interest rates earlier or in the later part of last month. So that's the bigger story, which means that the overall impact of this remains to be seen, but it might not be all that much in terms of the household impact so far.
Brian, you say it's not doomsday for the stock market, but what about for Capitol Hill? I mean, this kind of feels like a firing shot to lawmakers and how they've handled things.
Yeah, and there is a precedent for this when we take a look at, again, Fitch is not the first one to do this. S&P did it after the Obama administration debt ceiling negotiations in 2011. And at the time, there was a lot of questioning on Capitol Hill. Well, how do these credit ratings agencies model this out? How did we get here in the first place, right? So this is something where you could read it on 2 fronts. First of all, politicians are not happy about this. We heard Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen say that she thought that the move was arbitrary, what Fitch did. But then you're also going to have people on Capitol Hill that are saying, well, maybe we need to examine how these credit ratings agencies do all of these models. But then on the other side of things, maybe this is Fitch telling Congress, you need to get your stuff together, right? Make sure that the next time we go through these debt ceiling negotiations, it's not going to be as ugly as it was this time around. And then maybe in that case, they won't have to further downgrade the country.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.